There are boundaries and there are ultimatums, and I want to explain the difference between the two because sometimes people get confused about that. Also, people have a hard time setting boundaries because they feel like it's, not stepping into a new relationship, a new friendship, whatever, on a positive note. But you have all the right in the world to explain to people what your boundaries are early on in any kind of relationship, because you're just letting them know this is what's important to me, and I'm not really interested in being with people who can't provide that for me. You have the right to say, I don't want this kind of shit in my life, and I'm going to set a boundary, and if you cross that boundary, it's over. Ultimatums go like this. Do that or else. Don't do that again or else. It's an ultimatum. You're giving them basically another chance about something that you don't like, and you're letting them know, if you do that again, I'm out of here. A boundary is up front, before anything ever happens like that, or if it happens after that, you could say, you know what? I have a boundary here. I'm not comfortable with that kind of thing. And I'm just letting you know that I can't be with somebody like that. And you fucking leave. That's it. You don't say or else. Don't expect someone to change. They won't. But you have the right to say, this is why I'm leaving. And don't go back. Have a boundary. Don't let the person cross that boundary. If they do, then you are stepping away. You're changing something. You're doing something different. You're simply leaving. Don't expect the other person to change. So here's some examples. Say you're a non-smoker and you don't want to be with a smoker. I think most people would agree that's an okay thing to expect for yourself. Maybe you were a smoker and you never want to get back to it. Or maybe you never were a smoker and you just don't feel like you ever have to put up with that. Especially if you're like on a dating site, I think that those are things that they even ask that you can check off. You have the right to say, I want to be with a non-smoker. If you smoke, no need to contact me. So that's setting a boundary right up front. You have the right to do that. And let's say you meet someone and they're smoking. Maybe they even lied and said they don't, but then they did and they made an excuse like, well, it's only once in a while. Lying, unacceptable to me. That's one of my boundaries. But let's say for the hell of it, they smoked. And if you didn't have a boundary, you'd probably say, don't do it again. If you do it again, I'm walking. That's an ultimatum. But if you set a boundary and they cross that boundary, you can say, that's great, we're just not a good match, because you need to be with somebody who is okay with that. And I'm simply not. Have a nice life. It was fun. You're great. Go smoke with somebody else, around somebody else, and I'm going to go find somebody whose hair doesn't stink. Now let's think of something that, some people might not, understand or think. We know, some people don't want smokers. We don't want liars, things like that. Drinkers, if you're not wanting to drink or you don't want to be around a drunk. But what about something like this? Important to me right now, if I were ever to live with someone, I would want them to pick up after themselves. I have this new desire to always have a clean, uncluttered space. So that's important to me. If I were to say, now this doesn't mean you have to come out with all these things on the first date, but you need to let them know. And if you see that something's cluttered in their house, or they come over and they finish their can of soda and they just leave it on the table. They don't get up to throw it. you can set a boundary at that point and say, I really am going to need help here about, keeping the place clean because I like my home to be clean. Now, they can live with a messy house if you don't mind, and you just never have to go there. But in your home, in your space, whatever, you have the right to say, oh, do you mind throwing that away before you leave? But you can say to them, it's important to me that things get picked up around here. And, that's just the way I am. How do you feel about that? Oh, yeah, okay. But then you see them do it again. Now, you were clear, and you could say, you know what, this just isn't going to work for me. I love you, and I want you to go have the life you want to live. I don't want you to have to struggle to be a good match for me. You don't need to be. You can be yourself. I'm just going to have to step away because I'm a fucking nutcase, and I don't want you to leave the can of soda on the table. You know what I mean? You can put it on yourself. That's a boundary. This is what I want and expect. And it is perfectly okay if you don't respect or want the same things as me. But when we find that out, it's just going to have to be a clean break. As opposed to saying, if you don't throw that can away the next time you come over, then that's it. That's constantly giving someone another chance, and it's making it sound like what they're doing is wrong. And it's not. It's just the way they like to do it, and it just doesn't match what you like. See the difference? Ultimatums, you're putting it on them. Don't do that shit. That's not right. I'm going to leave you the next time. And when you open a door like that you're always willing to give another chance, then you're always going to give another chance. Put it on yourself. I just can't. I just can't. Bye. And remember, if someone can't be trusted on a little thing like putting a can in the trash, I know that sounds ridiculous, but if you say, I don't really like stuff like that, and if they say, oh, sure, but then they don't do it, if you can't trust someone with something minor, you can't trust them with the big things. It goes back to what I've said before. If your name is Deborah and you want to be called Deborah, and you say, I like to be called Deborah, I don't want to be called Deb, Debbie, Deb, Dub, you know what I mean? D. If they can't respect that, then fuck them. They're not into it. They just heard what you said. They might have even agreed. Oh, okay. And then they just blew it off, So get to know someone. If they can't do the small things that you would appreciate, then they're not going to do the big things, period.